Hello and welcome back to another episode of Motor Minutes. Today's topic is going to be the Chevrolet Chevelle. I hope you are doing great and I hope you will enjoy today's episode. So, the Chevrolet Chevelle. You might be surprised, but despite its iconic status and the iconic name Chevelle, the Chevrolet Chevelle only had three model generations running from 1963 up to 1977. And when it reached the markets in 1964, basically 63 was the start of the production, 64 was the first model year. The Chevrolet Chevelle came as a response to the Ford Fairlane. It was a mid-sized A-body platform car. It was meant to plug the gap between the Chevy 2 and the Impala. And unlike the other cars mentioned in my series about muscle cars, the Chevelle was an all-new model. Basically, it was built from the scratch, and funnily enough, it was the only all-new car for the 1964 model year in the US, and it became an immediate success. There were more than 338,000 Chevelles sold in the first year. One reason for this success was probably that you could choose from a wide option of different body styles. There were two-door hardtops, two-door coupes, convertible, four-door sedans, four-door station wagons, and through the entire generation or for all three Chevelle generation, this was typical that you had a wide options of body styles. But originally the Chevelle wasn't a muscle car. It only had a six-cylinder engine producing around 220 horsepower. But already in mid 1964, Chevrolet offered a bit punchier engine, a 327 cubic inch small block V8 producing around 300 horsepower. And this change basically showed that Chevrolet wanted to commit the Chevelle as a high performance vehicle, not only as a family car. And then they decided to create a real sports stream, the Chevelle SuperSport or SS. And this was basically Chevrolet's entry into the muscle car battle, which, keep in mind, only started not that long ago for them with the Pontiac GTO, so they needed an answer for that car. And the SS package contained a lot of interesting items. First of all, there were the SS emblems, which now are iconic, but they were also vinyl bucket seats, 14-inch full disc wheel covers, optional tachometer mounted on the dash, 4-gauge cluster, and of course there was a bigger engine. If you choose the base SS package, you got a 283 cubic inch V8 that only supplied around 220 horsepower, but the Chevrolet also added a 327 cubic inch small block, of course, to the offer, which was already offered for other teams. And in 65, they added the big block V8, the L79 with 350 horsepower. And these models got the subcategory that SS Z16. These were the strongest cars offered in that model year, but there were only 201 Chevy SS 396Z16 produced in 65, but they still made quite a big splash on the market. And basically, in 66, the Chevelle body was totally redesigned and the SS became its own separate model. The power range between 327 and 372 horsepower. And in 67, the buyers could already choose disc brakes from the front axle. This was really interesting because I digged around, and at the time period, mostly disc brakes were used for luxury cars or high-end sports cars like Porsche, Lamborghini, Maserati, and also the Chevelle. But there were also other passive safety options included. For example, a collapsible steering column. So if you crash, your steering column wouldn't pierce you to the seat, which was a good thing, I guess. And also you get a warning light for brake failure, which was useful for a car with this much horsepower. Well, in 68 arrived the second gen Chevelle. This is one of my favorite American cars, especially the two-door coupe version. And for the second gen, the wheelbase was cut even more, but a long hood was brought in with a short deck. Tapered fenders were also included, and the second gen Chevelle was really popular. And this was also thanks that, first of all, they kept all the body styles which were available for the first gen, and there were also quite many different packages or trim levels. So if you didn't want it strong SS version, so a muscle car, but you wanted something else, you could choose the Malibu trim or the luxury trim or the Nomad trim or the really interesting El Camino pickup trim, which is on the screen now. And I think it is a really interesting take on a pickup truck. And the El Camino is an icon in its own right. Of course, they were wide options for engines too. The base engine was a 140 horsepower 6-cylinder turbo thrift engine, and the standard V8 was a 200 horsepower turbo fire. But for example, the SS396 you could choose the turbojet V8 with 396 cubic inches, producing at standard 325 horsepower, but with upgrades you could go all the way up to 375 horsepower. In 69 came another change. Now the SS trim was basically removed, and the SS meant an engine package. This included the 396 cubic inch V8, now at standard producing 375 horsepower. There were also a chrome bar which was added, but the vent window, for example, was removed. And the taillights got bigger and more fresh. Of course, always not all changes were made just for the looks. Some were done to comply with newer safety regulations. We will see it a bit later. And in 1970 came an option which is probably the most interesting of all. Well, the LS6 engine arrived to the Chevelle, and this engine produced 450 horsepower. So we had a base model which used a 140 horsepower engine, and now the top of the line was a 450 horsepower engine. That must felt like riding a train, because it is a huge amount of horsepower even nowadays. And the buyers still could boost the horsepower even further with an air scoop. I couldn't find how much could it make, but I think 450 horsepower is enough. Well, in 1971, sadly, this engine was discontinued thanks to the regulations and the after effects of the fuel crisis. So you needed to choose now the small block 350 cubic inch engine producing only 375 horsepower. So yeah, sad days. You lost 70 horsepower. And in 73 came another interesting new option for the Chevelle. This was the colonnade body style, which you can see on the screen now. But sadly, by 73, thanks to the upcoming regulations regarding emissions, the SS style was now only an appearance package, and in 74 the SS trim was completely cancelled. It was replaced by Laguna Type S3 trim level, and the big block Chevelle was completely off the charts in 75 thanks to the catalytic converters which were mandated in 74. While the Chevelle name or the Chevelle model line did not survive for much longer either. In 77, the last Chevelle was released, and now the cars only received an engine which produced 145 horsepower, and this was basically the end of the Chevelle, and it was the end of the muscle car, or the first era of muscle cars. If you want to learn more about this end of the muscle cars, please check out our video about this topic. So in 77, the Chevelle's production ceased. This was the last year when you could buy a new Chevelle, and the Chevelle is, as far as I know, is not resurrected, or it's not even planned to be resurrected. Thank God, because they would probably resurrect it like an electric SUV like they did with the Capri, and I think this car does not deserve this. But It is still a popular car, and if you want to find the rarest Chevelle on the market, or it probably is not on the market because we would sell it, in 1970, there was a crazy option. You could choose the Chevelle SS454 LS6 as a convertible. Well, that must have been crazy, but there were probably only around 20 cars ever produced with these options. But this is not official. Chevrolet hasn't shared any production numbers, and these are basically pieced together from sales information. But surely this is one of the rarest cars because all Chevelle LS6s are rare and these convertible are extremely rare. But if you see one or if you know anyone who has one, please let us know because that guy is a lucky one. And this is all for me for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you have a great day and see you again. And if you like what we do, please give us a like and subscribe and comment.